Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, and today we have information on what actually is looking like a top tier 10x event for the Summon Rush that's going to be part of the Gnut Fusion. Yeah, we're going to run through the champions here today. Honestly, it's always exciting when there's actual good stuff because so many of us have to pull anyway. So if you are ridiculously lucky, which you have to be to get a 10x champion, still super lucky, you could find a lot of use out of these ones. So without any further ado, let's dive in. And then we've got a couple of pieces of news to touch on after the 10x news here that have come live today in the new patch that you may or may not notice by yourself. So let's dive in. First of all, Jareg, he's going to be the first champion in this 10x event. Actually a fantastic champion. Early game, very helpful. Ally protection, increased defense, decreased attack. And he puts out lots of healing with his passive. So Demon Lord. Early game, Jareg is brilliant. By the way, also has got a 33% HP in all battles aura, which is top tier. He maintains his usefulness, honestly, as you go further in the game. He's still really good for Lizardmen, Faction Crypt, because he brings increased defense. Helps you survive against the boss, and he powers up Razin, so very useful there. But more importantly, I would say against the Eternal Dragon, which is the final boss of Doom Tower Rotation 2, he is super strong because you can put decreased attack on the boss with his A1 at a good rate. But more importantly, the boss disables your active skills but not your passives, and he will actually put out tons of healing with this passive and help you stay alive. So he's a great champion, well worth having. Speaking of great champions well worth having, Skull Crusher is also going to be in this 10x event. He is one of only 3 champions in the game that puts out an AoE counterattack buff on your whole team. He also puts out ally protection at the same time and unkillable on himself. His A1 is heal reduction, that's pretty bad. And he can also reduce debuffs on himself by 1 turn at the start of each turn, which is a nice perk. It's really all about the A2, honestly. And his damage, I guess it is worth noting, it scales on defense, so he's going to be tanky but still do decent damage. Absolutely amazing for Demon Lord Clan Boss, of course. You combo him with Helikath or Roshgar the Tower. There's a whole bunch of champions. You can look it up specifically. I'd recommend deadwoodjedi.com. Look up Skull Crusher speed tunes. You can make an unkillable team with Skull Crusher and another one of these block damage or unkillable champions, which is really good. Even in a non-unkillable team, he's going to do tons of work. I also did a run with him in Hydra, and he's okay in Hydra using the counterattack stuff. And actually, Deadwood joined me for that one, so I recommend you check it out. Difficult to keep him alive in Hydra because the ally protection, and you've so many champions being hit by AoEs. But yeah, he's a brilliant champion. The only other 2 champions that can do AoE counterattack are legendaries, so he's well worth grabbing. And then we also are going to have Vergis. They said in their notes that he would be from Void Shards. That's definitely wrong. They've done it again. No, so from Ancients and Sacreds, all of these, of course. But Vergis, again, a brilliant champion. His A1 puts to reflect damage on a random ally. Who cares about that? His A2 is actually pretty good. Continuous heal, increased speed, and reflect damage on a target ally for 3 turns. So kind of nifty. You could turn someone into a mischief tank, which is cool. Puts out ally protection on everyone as well, and increased defense on himself. He doesn't ally protect himself, of course. So yeah, he's just a good ally protector, though, in general. Good for keeping your team alive. But the big thing is this, his passive. Puts a shield buff on himself equal to 10% max HP whenever he loses 10% max HP in a single hit. Makes him very survivable. And then it has an active effect, which books to a 1-turn cooldown that puts a continuous heal buff on him every time his HP drops below 50%. Why is Vergis so useful for you? Defense in all dungeons by 30, really good aura as well. Vergis is so good because he can solo the Scarab boss, which is absolutely massive, right? I think it's in actually a Destroy set and an Immortal set, and he can come in and he can solo Scarab, no problem. He can actually do all of Scarab, no problem. He needs very good gear, don't get me wrong. Let me give you a sneak peek. I've got Vergis in here somewhere, and he should still be in the same gear I originally used him in. I've got to find him now. Actually, we can do this, can't we? We can search for Vergis. Okay, but include Master Vault. Oh my god. Oh, this is so good. Yeah, so he's in. There we go. Oh, wow. I love this filter. To collection, please. Fantastic. And let me see this. Hide the champion filter. Yeah. So these are the sort of stats you need on him. It's really not bad, right? And he's in Immortal and Destroy. And he had these masteries, you know, it's very easy and you can get through all of the Scarab. and blessings and stuff will just make that easier. So that's a pretty big deal. The epic from Void Shards, I guess ally protection is the theme of this one. It's a good one, good theme. Andrisia from Void Shards, Void Epic, pretty nifty, right? So she decreases enemy buffs by 2 turns. The nice thing about this is that polymorph has been tweaked, nerfed in this patch. A lot of people having the debate about whether it's been nerfed or not. It's like, yes, it has been nerfed, but is it an impactful nerf? That's a question. So I think for whales, it's not that much of an impactful nerf. For Krakens, endgame, like super endgame Krakens, it's not really. But I actually think for most players, this is an impactful nerf. But yeah, like polymorph. It places this whenever a champion places debuffs or removes or steal buffs. Now, the interesting thing about that, removing or stealing buffs, Andrisia technically does not do either. She is decreasing the duration of enemy buffs. So she can actually strip off Stone Skin without risk of being polymorphed, and strip off all other buffs as well without risk of being polymorphed, which is kind of cool. It's actually pretty unique. So at least that's something that's worth noting about her. Doesn't make her super strong, I would say, but it's a good thing to know, and she is decently usable. She also has a single target attack that puts out a stun for a turn if they've no active buffs, but 2-turn stun if they do have active buffs. That's a really good stun. And then her A1 decreased crit damage is sort of whatever. At the start of her turn, now this has a 5-turn cooldown, so it's not the start of each turn. At the start of the turn with a 5-turn cooldown, she'll put ally protection for 2 turns on the ally with the lowest HP and put strengthen and increased defense on her. So it will help your damage dealer stay alive, but at the same time, it's still fairly easy to kill them through ally protection. Andrisia also needs to take a turn for this to take effect. But she's certainly well able to survive the ally protection damage coming in. It's no problem. But yeah, she's a decent enough, actually, arena champion that can get past polymorph, strip off some buffs, got a bit of crowd control. Like, she's not amazing, but she's certainly not bad. Then we come to the legendaries, and we've got some really good ones. So the first one is one I wouldn't be super hyped about, but he is a brilliant champion. Tyrant Ixelmore. Ally protection, increased defense on your team on a 3-turn cooldown. Brilliant. Then he's an AoE HP burn for 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. Cool. And then he heals himself a bit in his A1. He decreases damage enemies under HP burn do by 10%. And he's got a decent HP aura. Not as good as Jareg's, funnily enough. But yeah, look, Tyrant is still really good as an AoE burner and ally protector. So he's still very good for Demon Lord Clan Boss and anywhere where the burns and stuff are going to be good. He can do potentially some, undermanning strategies as well for Spider. Maybe like 2 or 3 man for Spider. Not maybe so much for Spider hard, but he's pretty good for Ice Golem hard with the AoE burn, ally protection, increased defense. He's doing a lot to keep you alive. So yeah, he doesn't necessarily stand out to me as being absolutely amazing, but he's got such a well-rounded kit that he's always going to be a good champion and might crop up in multiple different places. Now, the other 2 legendaries from Ancients and Sacreds, I actually am a really big fan of. First up, Snick Track. I think this champion is so good, right? AoE, decreased speed. That puts out a big shield on your whole team. That can't be removed if there's any enemies under leech. He has ally protection and reflect damage, and a massive heal from himself as well for your team. Decrease attack A1, that's a 100% chance of the target's under leech. And then that reflect damage he puts out, that is what is going to place leeches back. And he also reflects a lot of bonus damage himself, and he ups the effect of reflect damage. Now, unfortunately, reflect damage just isn't very good. And doubly unfortunately, reflect damage doesn't reflect damage that hits a shield. So there's a real anti-synergy there in his kit, at least until maybe one day they tweak this. And it's a pit. I would love to see reflect damage, for example, being buffed against Iron Twins. Make Iron Twins take more from reflect damage. I'd like to see more here. But this champion is a really, really good kit for somewhere like Hydra, right? Between the ally protection and the shield, he makes your team super tanky. And then he's going to bring decreased speed, decreased attack, and leech, which is really good for Hydra. So he's just a great flexible champion all around. He is very good for Iron Twins, even though we've got a little bit of counter synergy there. But yeah, he's a very, very nice champion. I like him a lot. And then finally, we've got Kargar Deathbell. I think one of the newest and very strong ally protection champion. Haven't seen too much about him, but I've heard really good things, right? Ally protection and strengthen, that's a really nice combo. Then he has an AoE attack with a 30% turn meter boost for your team and a full cleanse for your team as well, which is pretty cool. Heals himself on his A1, which will help him stay alive with ally protection. And then he gets more defense and resistance, and also increases your allies' defense and resistance for those ally protection buffs, which are out. And he also gets to counterattack whenever an ally under ally protection is attacked. So I do think, again, for a Demon Lord killable type team, this guy is insane. Probably most of the Doom Tower bosses, this guy is insane. Even in Arena, this guy could be insane. People like him for Hydra. That's interesting. I suppose he's all right there. He does bring the cleanse and the turn meter and keeps you alive. Interesting. But yeah, I think he's just a great champion overall. So yeah, he'd be cool to pull. And then probably the highlight for a lot of people, finally, Krisk the Ageless is the Void Legendary here. AoE taunt with increased defense on himself and speed on everyone else. AoE with ally protection on your team and 2 continuous heals on himself, increasing all ally buffs. AoE decreased speed A1. That big shield at the start of the fight, I'm putting out decreased defense, decreased attack whenever he is attacked, which is just super, super good. Yeah, Krisk is insane. He is fantastic. I think especially with Hydra Clash coming out, everyone who has a Krisk is going to be building him. He's one of those top tier champions. He's pretty good as well in like earlier game arena and stuff. He's not so good in late game arena now. Like you probably want to tailor your Krisk towards Hydra. That's where he is so good. He basically brings you provokes, he keeps your team alive, and he mischief tanks. And then he also brings you decreased speed, increased speed, which is really good. And extending your buffs makes things easy. Decreased defense, decreased attack. He brings them both as well. He brings so much for Hydra. So he's really supposed to be focused there, in my opinion. And he's absolutely top tier for it. So yeah. What do you think of this 10x event? Like, I feel they normally kind of skimp on these a little bit when it's a fusion, especially a good fusion, because they know you got to pull anyway. But I don't feel like they've really skimped on this one. I actually feel like all of these champions are really good. The epics are going to be helpful for you early game if you get them. The legendaries are all actually very, very nice and great usable champions that can be very impactful in your teams. So I feel like this is a good one. And I'm certainly pulling, obviously, for the Summon Rush. And I don't have any of those legendaries, so I would be happy, apart from Krisk, I'm not going to pull my voids, but I'd be happy with any of them. And I will just reiterate that I did this in my fusion breakdown video, how to do this fusion. Next weekend should be 2x Sacred Shards with Champion Chase. So you might want to bear that in mind. Like you might want to save Sacred Shards for next week and maybe use Void Shards more this week. So yeah, I mean, if you got super lucky and you got a Krisk, you'd be happy, but it's just the 10x, right? So your chances aren't super high. Finally, again, a couple of things I just wanted to touch on before we went was that, yeah, as I mentioned, polymorph has been changed. So the polymorph change is now active and everyone should have a free reset for their blessings. You should be able to change your blessings for free. So I'm going to go do that, switch lots of champions off of polymorph now. It's not going to be quite so good. I'm going to keep it on Yoshi though. So that's kind of nice. Stone Skin as well. So Stone Skin is now going to be vulnerable to HP burns. HP burns will do 15% max HP damage against champions under Stone Skin, which is pretty interesting. I believe the Stone Skin shield is a 50% shield. So 4 HP burn activations, I think, should take Stone Skin off. I have to test it out and find out. I haven't actually seen any testing yet. Another thing that's really nice, the Sand Devil's Necropolis, they've really boosted up the mini potions, the smallest potion on the higher stages. So this means that, you know, before, for example, I was farming a lot of stage 7 for the small potions. No longer a thing. Now it's really all about the higher stages. So get your best stage Sand Devil team. They want you to farm the highest stage possible. What else do we have to talk about? I think that's most of it. We looked at the champion filter here already a little bit. Obviously the Phantom Shogun's Grove is in there now. Sylvan Watcher Faction Crypt. Let's see when the first day of that is. I might do a guide on that soon. Hasn't shown up yet, but it should be starting. And we can actually see there are new rewards come in here actually. So let's see these new rewards. So we did these ones. So from where we were before, There's, you know, Immortal Soulstone, an Immortal, a couple of epic books, some silver, a couple of void shards, a 4-star chicken. Now we're talking in terms of rewards, and an Eternal Soulstone. The Eternal Soulstone is nice. The rank 4 chicken, though, that's the real game changer. Your account will never be the same again. But look, guys, thanks for watching. I think that is most of the stuff to cover here. Lots of new champion lore as well. But yeah, we'll see. Again, we speculate about this, the Prism Crystals. They're saying there's going to be a news post soon, so stay tuned for that, maybe during the week or the week after the fusion. Who knows? Soon, though. Guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you all next time. Goodbye.